Hi there, it's Dr. Courtney Raspin, and I was speaking to my colleague Alex the other day, and we were talking about Zoom therapy and how some people really, really like it and other people don't. And it got us talking in depth about some of the pros and cons of doing therapy in this way. And we thought it would be a really great idea to have a chat online, have a bit of an interview to talk about it a little bit more, because we thought it would be of interest to you as potential clients, and maybe some therapists out there too might find it interesting.
So we were talking quite a bit about perhaps the way people might feel about coming online for a therapy session as opposed to being in person with a therapist, and perhaps the pros of that, but then perhaps also the cons of it as well. So why people perhaps might be nervous of doing an online session rather than seeing someone face to face in an office. So have you found that a lot of your clients are happy to move to online therapy?
You know, I've actually been surprised at how easy it's been for many people to do it. And I think it's especially the people that you already have a relationship with, because once you've formed that relationship, you kind of know where you stand, you know how you feel, say, in the room, but even in the therapy space. So it's been an easier transition. There have been some glitches with regards to the technology, but I think we've ironed that all out, and we can talk about that a little bit later. I'd say that for some people, it has been hard. And I think some of the hardness has been around newer clients who perhaps wanted to start therapy, but now are saying they don't want to. Yeah, right, and they want to wait. Okay. Although people on our team have had success with that as well. Existing clients, even being seen on a screen has brought up a lot for people.
Okay. So why do you think that is? Why would it be any different being on a video call with somebody as to be in a face-to-face room with somebody?
I think the one thing is with Zoom, and that's what we use, you can see yourself. Yeah, and that's a bit disconcerting, especially because I work a lot with body image difficulties, eating disorders, anxiety and whatnot, and social anxiety. And so much about social anxiety is how you perceive yourself to be seen by other people.
Yeah.
And you're always looking for cues from other people to decide how it is that you're being perceived. So you've got yourself kind of coming back at you, and people start thinking, well, why does my face look like that? Or I wonder what they're thinking about that, and all of these things. Now, as a therapist, I think it's fantastic because it's grist for the mill. We can talk about, so what is it like when you see yourself, or when you made that facial expression, what did you think that I was thinking? So it provides a new opportunity for us to talk about difficulties in a different way. For some people, it's just too overwhelming to see themselves. So what we do is we have them turn their self view off.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can have different views, can't you, on Zoom as well? So you could just have you featuring and not me, so to speak.
Absolutely. And actually, that's a much more natural therapeutic office experience, right? When you go to see your therapist, you're not looking at yourself in the mirror. In the mirror. And so you can turn your self view off by kind of, on those three little dots in the right corner. And I think you right click and it says hide self view. So then you just get a big old face of me, which is probably what you would get in the office. I mean, what's interesting for me is that I find it really disconcerting to see my own face as well. So I turned my self view off, but I didn't know how to do that early on. So it was just distracting because I'm very emotive, I'm very animated. And I found that when I could see myself, I was going, oh God, you look weird. Stop doing that.
Distracted.
Distracted and not my most authentic self.
You're not relaxing into the conversation. You're more looking at yourself in the camera.
Absolutely. And I think, I'm not the best therapist for everyone, but I think part of what makes me effective for the clients I do have is that I am very warm and I am very animated and emotive. And so if I start kind of pulling it back and being,
it's not natural.
No, it's not natural. So I've turned off my self view. Um, what else? I think the other thing that can make it hard is things like privacy.
Yeah, well, you can see my office, for example, which is like my sewing table over here and my
Ooh,
husband's desk over here. And,
yeah.
sometimes, yeah, even when I'm on calls, I worry about what people can see. So maybe if you're at home, you worry, should you tidy up or where should you sit? And that could become a whole anxiety thing as well, maybe.
Absolutely. Again, how are you perceived?
Mm,
And how much do you want to let somebody else in? I mean, this is for the therapist and the client
mm,
as well. It's been really interesting to see people in their own spaces.
yeah.
That's something new and an opportunity that you don't usually get as a therapist. I mean, I've seen people's bedrooms,
Yeah.
people's offices, people's dogs, it's been
Yeah.
amazing. And
Children.
some children, um, parents
Yeah.
sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
um, finding that private space to talk and feeling like you're not being overheard.
Yeah, so I've actually had some counselling online before, and I
Yeah.
used to take myself to a local nature reserve, which is only 10 minutes
Oh,
away.
wow.
But it's so that I found that was a lovely place to sit and look out, and I could do the call on my phone, and I was
Mm,
private, nobody could hear me, I was separated from anybody at home. So I suppose, obviously, we're all in lockdown at the moment, but um, yeah, I suppose if you didn't want to be on camera, you could always go for a walk and have like a call type experience, maybe.
yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful idea. I mean, in fact, I just got a text this morning from a gentleman that I see who wants to start again. He stopped when lockdown happened because he's got 3 children and his wife is there all the time, and
Yeah.
he just felt like he says your room is such a safe haven for me.
Yeah, for being
You know?
honest. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily want people to overhear what you're saying because you sometimes you're just very honest about how you're feeling.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And also, I think the therapy room, you create a sense of safety there. You might be doing experiential exercises
Mm.
around, teaching people how to downregulate, how to manage their feelings. And, the color of the walls, the plant, I have some spray that I spray, all of those more sensual aspects of the safe space, you can't access those as well at all, really. Um, all you've got really is me, which hopefully we can try and recreate that together. But it's
Yeah.
harder. But I think you're right. Going somewhere. He said that he takes a walk on one of our local parks. He's available next week. Perhaps we can have a phone call.
Mm.
Yeah. I've got another client that she really is at risk to herself and feels like she has to see me. She has to see me or she might hurt herself. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we do a socially distanced walk
Mm.
once a
Yeah, so
week.
there's other ways of doing it. You can meet people's needs depending on what their circumstances are,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the other thing though is my privacy. You're right here, you're looking behind me, people say, "Oh, who plays the piano?" And that
Yeah.
opens all of that up. I've got a 14-year-old upstairs who's, gaming and banging on the table. And then
Yeah.
the doorbell rings and the dog.
Yeah,
And
barking.
so I think you're forced to, in some ways, reveal a little bit more about yourself as a therapist than perhaps you might otherwise. And that's not a big jump for me because I tend to share a lot compared to some therapists,
Hmm.
but it still is, it's not always on your terms because things happen and you
Yeah.
have to manage them as they come up.
Okay. That's very interesting. So
Yeah,
I'm just having a look. So what
yeah.
sort of feelings do some of your clients who are they enjoying doing the Zoom sessions more than being in the office? Have you had any feedback to that?
You know what? It depends. Some really like it. And I find that for some of my clients, especially those who maybe do find intimacy and that intense level of intimacy very difficult still. Maybe they're
Hmm.
more earlier on in their journey. They find that that little bit of distance allows them to relax and open up a bit more. It's really been interesting to see. So I've actually been able to get at things differently and a bit better, than perhaps others. For other clients, they find it almost impossible. They want that kind of feeling of a hug of the room. Yeah, and I think this is especially my clients who have early childhood trauma, kind of traumatic attachment, who, maybe we've been doing a lot of work, like I said, around emotional regulation, coming back into what we call a window of tolerance, a lot of breathing exercises and imagery. We have found ways of doing that online, but that can be a little bit more challenging. Yeah? One of the things I have found that helps is I do this exercise where we breathe back and forth. So as I breathe in and you breathe out, and you breathe in and I breathe out, we can kind of envision that connection, or putting a safe bubble around me and my screen and them and their screen, and we're in there together, trying to recreate that sense of connection in the body so that they can feel safer. But some of them find it so hard, and just want to be with me in the room, and I understand that.
Yeah. So you were telling me about how you've been using the chat function as well on calls.
Oh yeah. So sometimes when I'm in the room with somebody and they find it too difficult to say something, or maybe there aren't words. Yeah, maybe it's a feeling that is kind of pre-verbal. We use things like art or to express that, or if they feel that they're unable to say something because a critical voice is in the room preventing them from saying it, they can write it down or they can draw it. And the way we've been able to recreate that with Zoom is that there's the chat function. So if something feels too difficult, then they can type it out, and we can type back and forth for a little bit. Or we can share the whiteboard and they can draw it out. So so that's been really cool.
Utilizing the things on there.
Absolutely. I mean, the whiteboard has been fantastic because I can draw little mini formulations of what's happening. And then I can save those and send them to my client. And we can share the whiteboard so they can draw and I can draw. And that's also been a way of feeling more connected. So that's been lovely. Yeah.
Brilliant. So I've heard a little bit about Zoom fatigue as well with other people who have days of meetings online. Do you get that, or do you find clients get particularly drained by sort of the online, I don't know, just watching? It's almost like watching television, isn't it? But maybe it's harder than being person to person.
I don't know if it's so much a problem for our clients because it's 1 hour with us. But I think for therapists, at the end of a day of doing Zoom, I do find myself exhausted. More so. I mean, obviously there are days in the office where you feel the same way, because what we do is, we really do give all of ourselves in our work, and you have to feel deeply, and you're moved deeply by things, and you're thinking all of the time and being. But with Zoom, I don't know if this will pass over time as I get more used to doing it, but you almost feel like all you have to communicate is the screen. So you're focusing, I think, so much on putting everything into the screen. You don't really have as much of the body language. So I think it's a new way of attending that takes a lot of new energy, a new way of looking at things.
Maybe more sensory, because you're really focusing on the listening and the watching maybe a lot more. That maybe that's more.
So so there's definitely what I call Zoom fatigue. And I think I'm trying to space things out in the day a little bit more so that my clients can get the best of me. Rather than
breaks in between the calls and get up and move around.
Which you would do in session as well. But I think especially sitting in a computer chair, stretching the hips out, moving around, all of that is going to be really important.
So you mentioned before about the security of Zoom. I know there's been a lot in the media about how it was unsecure and they'd have hackers coming in. And I mean, I personally have used Zoom for years and I've never experienced anything like that ever. But so what would you say to somebody who's perhaps thinking about online therapy, but are worried someone else might hack into it?
Well, listen, people have been using Skype for years. Yeah,
Mhm.
people have been using other forms of kind of FaceTime and whatnot. And Zoom, in my view, is still the most secure. They did not anticipate growing as quickly as they did. Yeah, they really didn't. And I've been using it for a long time, never had any problems. But when we went in lockdown, everybody started using it. And, you know, if you build it, the hackers will come.
Mm.
And they came. And to Zoom's credit, they responded very, very quickly. And they've tidied it up. They've tightened it up in response to the demand and to the hackers. And so now what you've got is a waiting room that's automatically enabled. So you can only come into the call if the person who's hosting it allows you in. You can then lock the room. Yeah, so nobody can even come into the waiting room, I don't think.
Okay.
After everybody who's in the call is supposed to be in the call. And there's a password to get in. And so I tell my clients now, you know, you can be assured that we are in a safe space that isn't being overheard. And it's so important to have that. It really is so important to have that, because you're talking about, you know, your vulnerability, your deepest, darkest thoughts and secrets sometimes. So I think knowing that nobody else is listening in is really key.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we should just end by mentioning your brilliant headphones that you have on. We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, you know what? I just find that I can be easily distracted, which is why the therapy room, I love my therapy room, because it's just quiet and I can focus on my client. Here, I'm looking at you, but I've got that over there, and then I've got the bird building her nest outside, and then I've got noise and this. And without the headphones and without really good headphones, it's more difficult for me to be fully immersed in the work that I do. And I tried a few different ones, and you know, these are gamer headphones. I love them. And I look ridiculous, but actually I had one of my clients say that it looked like I could land a plane.
Yeah, it's a bit Princess Leia. Princess
Yeah,
Leia.
oh, yeah, okay, I got it. That, you know, they felt contained and safe because I looked like the captain and that I could
You're
land a
in
plane.
control. Yes.
And I'm in control. So I've tried to just take on that persona. And yeah, they look a little bit funny, but I think that I'm my best when I'm insulated in your voice. And then you can just hear what I'm saying. And also you can't hear the dog or the kids way out there. So I like them.
It's very good.
Thank you.
So I suppose we should probably finish with talking about how you do offer a free 20-minute online consultation, which we've been doing for a while, but
we have been.
There is that opportunity to give it a go and no commitment, and see how you feel about it before necessarily signing up to a course of therapy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's always good to give things a go, especially when this new technology is about, you know. And so we do offer a 20-minute free online consultation, just like this, like you and I are talking now, with a member of our team, where you can talk briefly or in depth, if you want, about your difficulties and what it is you're looking for from therapy, and have a think with our consultants whether or not therapy or online therapy is right for you.
Okay,
and you can access that, I think, from our website, from our Instagram, from our Facebook page. So it's just @Altum Health, and have a look, and hopefully there'll be something there that will interest you.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Courtney.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, Alex.
Okay,
all right,
soon.
take care. Bye.
Bye.